Hey guys, so today I'm talking about making a heater from a simple soda can, and this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So it's just an idea that I was kind of marinating. How could you make a soda can into the most effective heater? So I'm going to go step by step and show you how to do this. Whether you're camping, you have an emergency situation, power outage, this will absolutely heat a very small area very quickly, or a large area. It can bring it up just a few degrees when it's really cold and you don't have any power. Now guys, when I say soda can, we're going to take 2 soda cans and make it into one that's going to be our heater. So one thing you need to start with is a razor blade. Make sure you got a good pair of leather gloves on or some cut resistant gloves. We're going to take that and we're going to cut the top portion off and the bottom portion. So we're just going to split it right down the middle. All right, so we're just going to carefully cut this, and we're going to be discarding the top, the opening, so we want to save as much of the bottom half. So maybe we're going to do about 75% from the bottom of the can. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to clean these edges up. Remember, don't do this without a really good pair of gloves. And so I just want to make this as straight as I can all the way around the can. Just try to do this carefully, slow and easy, and you'll have a nice straight line all the way around the can. And there you go. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. So that's going to be the bottom half of our can. Now the same exact thing with the second can, and I'm going to make this can a little bit closer to the top because I want to try to preserve as much of the bottom of the can as possible. Now try not to put too much pressure on it because you'll damage the can. Cans nowadays are paper thin, so we just want to try to do that as gently as possible. I know I don't have the softest touch, so we're going to go around the top of this can as well. I didn't do a very good job on rinsing. We still got a little bit of residue in there. All right, and so we've got pretty much about the same size, but we've got just the bottoms of 2 cans. Now the next thing you need is this stainless steel mesh. It was around $10 or $12. It wasn't terribly expensive, and this was a rather large roll because I'm always doing projects around the greenhouse. I love making heater videos using this type of material. So this is, like I said, stainless steel, can take a lot of heat, so you don't have to order a larger roll like this. You can order just one individual sheet, which brings the price way down, but I personally liked it because it's already kind of in that circular shape. So we're going to take some of this and cut it to just the right size. I'll bring you in closer again to show you exactly what I'm doing. Now let's cut off a piece of the stainless steel mesh, but what we want to do is we want to take both cans and get kind of an estimation of about what length we're going to need. So it's going to be about right here. I don't want to cut off more than I actually need. And this stuff works very easy with a pair of scissors. It's not difficult to cut at all. I'm going to take it nice and slow. I'm hoping I'm still on screen here. And like I said, it takes a little bit of effort, but it's not hard to cut with just an ordinary pair of kitchen scissors. So we're going to bring this back just a little bit, and hopefully our kind of triangular shape here is just right, or our rectangular shape is right there. So we want to get as much of that as we can. You don't have to seal the 2 pieces together because the can is going to hold this shape. So as you can see, it's roughly the same shape, same size, and it may overlap just a little bit there, but that's perfectly okay. But this is what's going to make this heater work even better, because the heat is going to travel up the full length of this and radiate heat out around us, whether we're at in our tent or on our campsite or we're having a power outage. But like I said, this is a super easy way to make a micro heater. Now what I've done is I've rolled our stainless steel into kind of the circular pattern there. I've put our bottom can on the bottom, top can on the top. The bottom can at the bottom is just a little bit deeper than the one on top. As you can see, they close together, about the same size, maybe slightly larger than the standard can was in the very beginning. But there you go. Now I'm going to show you exactly what we need to do to make this an efficient heater, and it works. And there's one thing in here that you can put inside there to make the fuel burn slower and more efficiently, where it'll burn longer. Just instead of just putting the fuel inside, this extends the life of the fuel. Now, when we're refueling this is a question I often get, is how do you refuel it? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a drill and we're going to drill a very small hole in the top of this. And how we keep the flames from coming out is we're going to take a quarter, an American quarter, but you can use any type of coin you want. Just want to cover that hole once we have it lit. So let's go ahead and drill our hole in the top. The second question I often get asked is, how do you put it out? Well, of course, you don't want to put it out with a bare hand, but if you have your gloves on, I'll just demonstrate real quick. Let's pretend like it's very hot. Push this down just like that, and the flame will cut itself off. It will starve of oxygen, and it'll take maybe 10 or 15 minutes for the can to cool down. Now let's take our drill and just carefully, we don't want to put too much pressure on this, but we just want to make a very small hole. So when we go to refill it, we can either use something like this and just refill like that. We don't have to worry about spillage. Or you can use a small kitchen funnel. Just make sure that the funnel size and the hole match so you're not spilling all over the top. But I'm going to use this in preference of refilling when I need to do that. So let's drill a small hole. Just be very careful. So I didn't want to put too big of a hole, as I said. This is mainly made for watering succulents. I picked this up at the local garden center, but this way I can just put it in the top and slowly refill without having to worry about having a really big mess everywhere. Again, once it's lit, you're just going to put a coin over there because you don't want any flames coming out the top. You want it to be coming out the sides and heating up this stainless steel mesh as I showed you. And you can pull it up like that. Be very careful once you get it pulled up. You can use this, if you're using it inside a home, you would put it somewhere like on top of a stove, inside of a stainless steel cooking pot, inside of a stainless steel sink. So you just want to make sure that there's no chance of knocking it over and causing a larger fire. I will say that anytime I'm making any of these, I always recommend that you have the proper safety equipment. Of course, a fire extinguisher, I go with the Simply Safe brand. They will alert you if you have one of your smoke detectors go off. So take a look in the description. I'll put all the links to that, but you may have already heard of that brand, or you may actually have one. And I really like the Simply Safe system. It's the one I installed in my own home. But this is how it's going to look right here. And let's go on to the next step. Now I wanted to talk just for a second. We're going to put charcoal in the base of that. That's going to extend the burn time of our fuel. It burns slower, the charcoal will absorb it. You can either buy lump charcoal yourself, make sure there's no chemicals added to it, or you can make your own. Take a look in the top right corner and I'll put a link in the description to how to make your own charcoal. But I did this a couple weeks ago and I made my own charcoal, and this is a great product to use when you're creating stoves. A lot of uses, so if you'll just take a look at that video, you'll find that that's one of the great ways to make this work even longer. Another thing you can use is, if you don't have access to charcoal, you can get this at a garden center. This is perlite. This is volcanic glass. You can fill up this bottom portion right here, maybe to 1/4 of an inch from where the mesh is the top right there. Of course, you want to do this just once because this stuff will not burn off. It will take extremely high heat, and like I said, it will extend the burn time. This time on this particular stove, I'm going to use the charcoal, but you have either or option. Perlite, and I'll put a link in the description to that, or lump charcoal. Now this is really a heavy bag. If I can find a small bag online, I'll link that, but you don't want to order something this big just for this very small can. So if you have lump charcoal that has no additives, no chemicals in it, no any kind of, a lot of times they'll add things to this, so you just want it to be 100% natural is the point I'm trying to get across. Now I'm going to disassemble our can right here just for a second, and I'm going to put charcoal into our can. A few small pieces that will absorb the fuel, and then I'll put this back together. It may take a little bit of effort there, and once you do this, you don't have to worry about taking the can apart over and over, because it will basically, this charcoal will last quite a long time. You don't have to worry about replacing it. Now I wanted you to be able to see right there, we've added the charcoal. It's a little bit higher than I'd like it, but when it comes to the perlite, I would put it a little bit lower because the perlite can spill out if you don't have the small size mesh there. I don't think this would be a problem, but some of the other meshes you might have, you might have a little bit of spillage of the perlite. But anyways, there you go. That's our charcoal. Now we're going to wet our charcoal with fuel, but I just want to say a couple words about the best type of fuel to use. Now I want to talk about what type of fuel you might use in your tin can heater. You can use 70% alcohol, but you're not going to have as clean of burn. It can put off a little bit more soot and things like that. You can use 91%. 99 will burn longer and cleaner, but the best thing is just have a can of denatured alcohol around the house for emergencies. And if you look on the can, you'll see it actually says for marine stoves, alcohol burning appliances, and the fuel burns clean, odorless, and smokeless flames. So denatured alcohol actually is the best. And then the second best I'd recommend is the 99% isopropyl alcohol. So most people commonly have 91 and 70, but remember, you're not going to get as clean of a burn off of these two. Now when you go to refuel these each time, you want to make sure that it is completely cooled down. You don't want to try to refuel it when everything is really hot. So give it a good half hour to 1 hour in between refuelings. I'm not going to put a lot in there. I'm just going to put some in the top here, and this is the easy way to do it. Just put it in the top there and make sure the can is closed. You want to make sure that it's not in the open position. You just want to push it all the way to, so we'll get down to the charcoal a lot easier. I'm just going to do that. Now, one comment about using this as a camping stove, you can take some painter's tape and just put right around the center there to keep the can from coming apart. But I would recommend that you don't fuel it until you get to where you are at and you're ready to fuel it. So you can also tape your quarter to the top, put your coin at the top there, and just run some of this painter's tape off. Obviously you want to remove that because painter's tape is flammable, but this is just a great way to carry it where it doesn't come apart. Also, because the can is so thin, aluminum can be crushed so easily. So make sure you put it inside of a crush-proof container if you're putting it in your backpack. But if you're storing this in a pantry, you can just write on it charcoal can stove, and then that way you'll know exactly what it is if you have a power outage and you need to use it. All right, I moved it away from our fuels. We're going to give it a quick light with our torch. I would recommend lighting with a torch rather than matches because you can get a flame down inside of it. So let's do that. There we go. It just took a quick second to do that. I'm going to cut the light off in the greenhouse where you can see it burning. That tends to burn a little bit cleaner because of the denatured alcohol. So as you can see, there's more of a blue flame, but you can see the stainless steel is really heating up. The top of the can is getting really hot as well. All right, so let's do some temperature test. Top of the mesh is about 550 degrees, 60 degrees. Let's see what the temperature is on the can. Let's see, our can is about 320, 300 degrees. Top of the can, I know you can't see that because I'm off screen, is about the same 300 degrees. But the point at which it's the most heated is right here, 600 degrees. Right there at the top of the mesh. So that's where it gets really hot, and I can feel quite a bit of heat coming off. I'm about 6 to 8 inches away, and I can definitely feel heat all the way around. So this is heating up quite quickly. No bad smells, no vapors. It's really the perfect fuel for using is the denatured alcohol. Now there's a couple of different ways you could use this if you're on a camping trip. One, you could use it for light by using a less pure fuel. This denatured alcohol doesn't put out a lot of light, so if you're using something like a 70% alcohol, raise the top a little bit more and you'll have a kind of a lantern effect. If you're wanting to cook with it, obviously it doesn't matter which of the three you choose because you're not really opting, or your goal isn't for lighting. So you could put some cookware on top of it, you could hold it over it if you have the right type of tools or instruments there. But I would recommend that you be very careful because this is very hot, and my hand can't even get that close to it without feeling an intense amount of heat. Guys, I'm going to cut the lights out in the greenhouse. We've had a solid 10 minutes of burn time, but as you can see, you can tell that it is red hot when we cut the light out. So that makes a huge difference, is the fuel type you're using, the duration of the burn, and the purity of the burn. So if you're going to use this indoors, make sure you have the proper safety equipment, carbon monoxide detector, smoke detector, fire extinguisher, all that handy, so you make sure that you're not putting any toxic fumes into the air. Now, it's really amazing to me how much heat such a small device can put off. So if you're trying to heat a small room or raise the temperature in a larger room just a couple of degrees, or if you're on the trail camping trip, you just need a little bit more heat at the campsite, or if you needed to use it as a lantern, you could do that as well, as I said previously. But anyways, one thing I would recommend the first time you burn it, because this is a painted can, burn it outside the first time so you can get some of those vapors off, because it will create a little bit of an odor from the paint from the can. But now we're down to just the aluminum. The bottom is still relatively hot, but the top is red hot. And this mesh, the stainless steel mesh, is where most of the heat is being generated. All right, so let's do one final test before we shut down the greenhouse. As you can see, there's nearly 1,000 degrees, 957. I know it's a little bit out of focus. I'll try to get a little bit more in focus there. But it's an amazing thing, that the difference it makes with that stainless steel mesh there. It puts out quite a bit more heat. I think we've actually touched on 1,000 degrees a couple times there. So it's an amazing little tiny heater that you can easily backpack with or have in your pantry as an emergency heating or lighting device. So guys, we're still going strong even after 15 minutes, and I've done several heat tests, and like I said, it ranges anywhere from 700 to 900 degrees. You could cook on top of it and it would put out enough heat to keep you warm in a small size room, or at least raise the temperature up away from freezing. So if you're interested in this type of content and you have a question about it, this video or any previous video, I hope you'll become a public subscriber first. I always put those questions to the very front of the line. Also, if you want to help the channel grow, I have a Patreon. I have added free content there. There's a lot of PDFs that are free. There's a lot of PDFs that have a small charge for them. I believe $3 is the most expensive. I have some PDFs that talk about gardening and different types of heating and things like that. So take a look at the Patreon. I think you'll find something of value there. Even if you don't want to join, there is free stuff available. So as I said earlier, this tiny little heater is working great. Since we're going into the winter, we're at the very beginning of it, I'm going to probably go into making maybe 20 to 30 different types of heaters for you, just to show you, depending on what you might have around your home, that you can make heaters out of many different things. But again, safety is paramount. Using the right type of fuel, having the right type of safety equipment, fire extinguishers, and all the other things I talked about, such as the Simply Safe system. So just make sure that you're extremely safe when you do this stuff. Don't use it around kids. If you have pets, make sure that pets don't have access to it. A stainless steel kitchen sink would be a good place to experiment on top of a stove, an unused fireplace, something like that. So if you do need to use this, just make sure that you make safety your #1 priority. Guys, have a great day, and thanks for watching.